Hello there all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to an Ecologist Plays where we normally talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, and well, the reveal trailer for Grounded 2 has dropped, and oh my word, I am so excited. So of course on the channel I have played the first Grounded, and I thought it's a good idea for me as an ecologist to have a look at the trailer to see what I can find within it. So let's dive right in, shall we? So we're just skipping over the first bit, the intro with yoked girth, but let's jump in here further, shall we? In the first section here, you can see the setting will be a local park in the neighborhood, and they already confirmed that the starting area is going to be as big as the entire backyard for the first Grounded. So in terms of scale, it's going to be much bigger than the first Grounded was. Of course, you can see our old friend, the dandelion over here, and dandelions, of course, typical weedy pioneer species. Wherever they can, they will grow. There is another dandelion, I believe, in the background there as well. We're going to see some more of those in a moment. And a nice big tree, possibly an oak tree, again in the background there. It does indicate that this is most likely taking place in autumn. There's another giveaway that it is likely in autumn, but we'll look at that in a moment. Of course, it's going to be this summer, and the release date is the 29th of July when it goes into early access. In terms of the background here, you can see some typical things you would find, some broken glasses in the background here. Pine needles I see as well. So there are some pine trees, I believe, in the game here as well. And of course, a whole bunch of tree roots extending along here as well. And of course, the grasses that we are going to be using to be building our bases quite a bit with. Continuing on, we again have some pollution here, some rubble. We've got a pamphlet over here, I believe. That indicates you can see the statue that there was over there. You can see the statue that is in the background there as well. The statue of Wendell and Burgle. And it does look like this gives us a map of some sort. You can kind of look there and see where everything is. Nice pathway and stuff like that. Maybe it looks like there's a water feature over there. A bit of a boardwalk with a water feature. I was missing a water feature in the trailer, but maybe that is a nod to that. But what is more interesting and more important to me, butterflies. In fact, there are 3 butterflies in this shot over here. And these are most likely some lycanid butterflies, some of the blues or hairtails or along those lines. They are really awesome. They are quite small, and I think that is why they are in the game here. But if we've got these ones, and these do look like they could be the eastern-tailed blue Cupido comentas, and if that is indeed the fact, well, these are 3 males. Females actually have a blacker top wing here, but the males here have the vivid blue top side, and then the underside with the spots and some orange in there as well. We'll see that again in a moment. But if in fact it is the eastern-tailed blue, we could perhaps also see the caterpillar in-game, and the caterpillar functions very similar to aphids, where they secrete a little nutritious sugary substance, and the ants love that. The ants will go and harvest that and defend the caterpillars of these butterflies as well. And maybe we as survivors can actually go and harvest that honeydew-like substance from the caterpillars of the eastern-tailed blues over here. Now, speaking of the survivors, we are going to be the exact 4 survivors as we were in the first Grounded. They are a little bit older though, and maybe a little bit stronger, and that may be necessary for the bigger battles that lie ahead. In terms of the rest of the background, you can see there are some thistles there as well. So, of course, the sprig bow and the normal old arrows will most likely make a return. Whether we're going to use mite fuzz, I'm not sure, but I would hazard a guess and say yes. Of course, we've got the grasses and some of these larger plants as well. Initially, I thought these were nut sedges, but I don't think they are. I think they are little flowery plants. A little bit difficult. We'll have to see when the game releases. Here, of course, we've got a better look of that eastern-tailed blue. The only thing that is preventing me from saying it's definitely the eastern-tailed blue, the eastern-tailed blue has a short little tail on the wing over here, on the hind wing, and that they use to actually direct attention away from their actual head. The predators tend to go for the hind wing there. They mistake it for its head. It's called auto-mimicry. You mimic yourself, and it is a way for the eastern-tailed blue to potentially escape from predators. Now, not all the butterflies in the lycanids have it, but the eastern-tailed blue would have it. So I'm not 100% sold on the fact that it is the eastern-tailed blue, but for now, that is the butterfly I am calling it. We also, of course, have our old friend the bumblebee making an appearance here as well. The bumblebee, of course, they're also flying all over the place, most likely collecting a whole bunch of foodstuffs for winter that is to come. And then in the background here, we also have some larger flowers. Now, initially I thought those were roses. Maybe they're not roses. In fact, I don't think those are roses. Nonetheless, some flowers, most likely getting some petals again for our furniture and the armor and stuff like that. We also have a look at the trees in the area. There are some oak trees, I believe, out there as well. And then, of course, some conifers as well in front and outside of the park itself as well. So we are having a return of the conifers. Also in front here, well, we can see the pointy butt of the bumblebee here. You can see there's a sprinkler, so we are probably going to have a flooded zone around the podium area here as well. There are also some of those brown mushrooms we had in the first grounded, so mushroom bricks and things like that, most likely making a return again. And along with a flooded area, probably some mosquitoes as well. And then again with a get shrunk here, you can see in front indeed a flooded area or a little bit of a pool, a puddle. There's also in the background right over there, there is a branch of what looks like a pine tree or some kind of conifer. And there is in fact some resin on there as well, indicating that, yeah, that is most likely a resinous pine tree branch that is lying right over there. Also, of course, the clover making a return, whether we get the 4-leaf clover, that of course remains to be seen. There's another clover over there. The old favorites, of course, returning. And then, of course, some more clover flowers again as well. There's the Amanita as well, the Amanita muscaria, the red toadstool over there. Also, 2 new animals making an appearance. Yes, we've got a weevil in front there. We'll see the weevil in a moment. But there, right up there, there is, in fact, a large caterpillar. This is not the caterpillar of the licaniid butterfly of the eastern-tailed blue. Instead, that is the caterpillar of a type of moth. That is most likely Hylophora cecropia, the cecropia moth, North America's largest moth species, and it'll be amazing to see them in-game. Not sure whether the moths are going to make an appearance, the actual cecropia moths, but the caterpillar is definitely making an appearance. And then zooming in, we have another new creature, a vicious scorpion. Oh, that one looks quite big. There, of course, is our weevil friend. This one, okay, let's say it's big, but that one is moderately sized. And it's also moderately venomous. It has got quite a thickish tail, but also has got quite big pincers. I'm not 100% sure what species this would be. Now, as far as I know, there aren't any scorpions, at least not on iNaturalist, recorded for Maine, where I always thought this is set. And I know it isn't, it's a fictional world and stuff, but I've always worked on the species occurring in Maine, and there are no scorpions there. Which I find very strange, because even here where I am, we've got quite a few scorpion species around here. Of course, they mostly prefer arid regions. They do extremely well in arid areas, and it's probably too cold in the area where this game is set for them to really survive. But there is a problem with that in a moment. We'll have a look at that. But it could very well be that this is an escaped scorpion, that it was someone's pet, that it was either released or escaped and is now running around in the park over here. Of course, they've got the pincer there, they've got the stinger in the back there, and they've got their mouth parts in front, and of course the eyes there. Now, the eyes here are slightly wrong for scorpions. Yes, scorpions do have the eyes right on top there, and then they do have 6 eyes on the front of the head there. Usually not quite in front there. It does give them a bit of an uncanny valley look there, but those eyes would be a little bit lower down. They have got 3 pairs of eyes right on the rim of the head over there, of the cephalothorax, and then the 2 eyes on top there, most likely to pick up shadows and have a bit of a blurry vision for anything above them. But yeah, these ones in front would in fact be the main vision right over there. But this will be a very interesting one. I do believe it burrows. Yeah, there we go. It does burrow indeed. So that is going to be a very interesting foe to face. And I do believe it pops up later in the trailer as well. And there we go. There is our Cecropia moth caterpillar. Really amazing. They do have all these little spines over there. Usually you see spines on a caterpillar like this, and it means do not touch. But with the Cecropia moth, as far as I recall, these spines are in fact harmless. Now, they start out as little caterpillars, covered mostly with these little black hairs you can see on some of these spines here. And then as they grow older, those black hairs start falling away a bit and are replaced by these brightly colored protrusions. And this is the other reason I think this game is set in autumn, because the Cecropia moth caterpillars reach maturity around mid-fall. And this looks like it is the final instar, the final stage of the caterpillar. And it will be pupating soon and then turning into the moths, which I believe will come out around springtime. Now, the moths don't have any mouth parts, so they only survive about 2 weeks. And during that time, they have got to reproduce like crazy, or try to at least reproduce. And we'll talk about that, of course. If we do see the moths in-game, we'll talk about that at length. And yes, we are getting shrunk again. And of course, our old friends, the ants. But more importantly, look at that. We can ride the ants. And apparently now, the ants will not just be mounts. They will also have some mechanisms you can use. Like the red ants here, you can use to carry more stuff around when you're building your base. And the orb weavers can stun your opponents and do all kinds of things. So, not sure whether all bugs will be rideable. And of course, you'll probably only be able to use one at a time. There has to be some balance. Otherwise, this is going to turn into Ark, where you're just going to run around with half of the park's creatures in your army. So there probably will be some kind of limit. And of course, our old favorite, the orb weaver, making an appearance as well. I do believe this is the normal big old orb weaver, and we can see the junior a little bit later on. So this is most likely a female orb weaver. I've always been sure that those junior orb weavers are in fact just males, because the males are smaller than the females. We've got another bumblebee in front here, dandelion. It looks like, of course, a hot dog stand. Most likely then we are going to get hot dogs scattered all over the show in the park here. And then something else that is new. We've got the ice biome, and it looks like a bit of an ice cave right over there. So, of course, we are going to have to craft some gear to survive in this winter wonderland over here. Not sure what creatures we'll encounter in the cold here, because invertebrates generally don't do well with extremely cold temperatures. So it'll be interesting to see what we will find here. Another cave network here and some mushrooms. I'm wondering about these underground mushrooms. I'm wondering whether this isn't perhaps a termite mound and the termites are cultivating the mushrooms. I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think these mushrooms you would find outside of termite mounds as well. I mean, they are all over the show in the backyard. So maybe this isn't a termite mound, but a big cave nonetheless, which is, of course, going to be a lot of fun to explore. Then in a bush as well, similar to the hedge, but now I don't think we've got a hedge. Instead, we've got a nice bush that we are climbing through. An interesting weapon here looks kind of like an ant mandible, though it could also be a beetle mandible. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Nice mallet over there as a weapon. The teens here are not wearing a lot of armor yet, so I'm not sure whether these are in fact the starter type weapons you can have. But there we go, we have got the return of the ant armor, it seems, as well, and a kind of a katana, and there, of course, a staff as well. Having a better look at it, I honestly have no idea. Maybe there are some mites that are blacker in color and we are hunting those, or maybe we have the ability to dye some fur, so basically take some lawn mites and dye them black. Who knows? Nonetheless, this looks really cool. I love the crystals that are forming on the grasses here as we enter the cold biome here. And this will be some of the warmer gear we have to craft. Jumping into the cold biome, there is a scorpion in the frozen area, which I do find very interesting, because they wouldn't survive really, and they wouldn't be active when it is cold like this. They really would be in a state of suspended animation. They'd be waiting for warmer temperatures, then wake up and do their thing. This is not an extremely deadly scorpion. We can have a good look at the pincers there, quite large pincers and medium-sized stinger there. So if it were a big stinger and smaller pincers, of course, I'd be more worried. But this would still pack a punch. Between the big pincers in front and the stinger in the back, I would be equally worried about both of these. And having a more close-up look here of the scorpion, really quite an interesting creature. I love the fact that we are going to encounter some scorpions finally again. There's also a dead scorpion in the background there, one that has most likely frozen to death. An interesting weapon, not sure what this weapon is made of. Of course, we'll find out more about the weapons and armor when we actually play the game. I'm mostly here for the critters we can see. And then, of course, having a good look outside again at the lycaenid butterfly here, at most likely the eastern-tailed blue. Really an awesome, beautiful butterfly, vivid blue. That is, of course, with the males to attract the females. Females are darker in color, as I mentioned, black on the top side of the wings there, because they do not want to stand out. We'll talk about the blue of this butterfly when we are playing the game as well, but that is not a pigment that is laid down in the wing. That is due to the structure of the scales on the wing there. And then the butterfly having a gust attack, pushing us all back. Very similar to the moth in the first Grounded. So I think they are going to function very similarly. And then here we have an orb weaver, which appears to be making a web to try and entrap us. Now, orb weaver spiders don't do this. They instead build a massive web. But you will find this behavior in what we call net casting spiders, or the ogre-faced spiders. They actually do create webs, and they hold it between their front legs, but they will be hanging upside down and waiting for something to crawl along the surface and then ensnare the prey in this web. And it looks like this orb weaver is trying to do something similar. We, on the other hand, are apparently charging up an attack there, it seems. And there we go, it is fully charged, and then we poke that and break the web. That is interesting. So there are some new attacks coming along in the game as well. I do believe dodging is also going to be a thing, blocking, all those types of things. And there we go, riding our red ant soldiers into battle. And here you can see the teens are in fact a little bit older now. And it seems we'll be able to climb up some surfaces as well. I wonder whether we'll be able to climb almost vertical surfaces with these ants as well. Ants, of course, can climb that, no problem. I'm wondering whether a proper oak tree base is in fact going to be a thing. And here we can of course see again using the ant as a bit of a pack mule, using it to carry some weed stems. I wonder whether we'll be able to carry more weed stems if we are in fact on the back of a red ant. That still has to be seen. Of course, some new decorations, kind of like a tiki appearance at the back there, kind of Polynesian appearance there. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we build the bases again. And again, as always, survive together. Up to 4 players can play. That is really lovely. And oh, a new mantis. Instead of the orchid mantis, which doesn't belong in North America, now we have got some kind of green, almost leaf mimicking mantis. You can see on these 2 sets of legs that they have these flattened areas. That is to try and look like a leaf. So it does break up the outline of the mantis. We can see the 2 big eyes in front there. I still can't see the 3 tiny eyes. Mantises do have 3 small eyes, 3 ocelli, simple eyes in the front there, which I can't see in this model yet. Maybe that is still coming, but I can't see it yet. But this is still a juvenile. This is a young one. Doesn't have properly formed wings yet, and you can see already quite big compared to the teens over here. I wonder whether that means we're going to get an adult as well. But for now, we've got a mantis, and we've got a turret, again, shooting stuff. That looks like it is shooting a bomb. That is, in fact, a bomb there. You can see the fuse is lit. We also have a pine cone in the background there, and, of course, pine needles all over the place here as well. So maybe the pine trees are going to be part of the earlier game. These aren't mushroom brick walls. They are still grass walls. So this may still be quite early, and this may be like the wolf spider of the early game. Now just getting a different view of the battle here. The mantis, the ants, you can ride them into battle, really brilliant. And of course, someone in the turret at the top there, shooting bombs down on the mantis in front here. Everything's still weed and grass and clover roof. So not late game, it seems, that we are going to encounter the mantis. That's going to be a big fight for an early game. Maybe we have got the nymph here, we've got the young one in the early game, and then we are going to encounter the adult later on. Oh, that will be very, very interesting. And the jump attack by the mantis there. Yeah, we're going to have to avoid those. Getting a closer look, I still can't see 3 ocelli. The 3 simple eyes of the mantis would be right there where those 2 scales are. Right over there you'd find the ocelli. And then of course some armor. We've got some kind of spider armor. Those are definitely the eyes of a spider. This is also, oh, this looks like it's an orb weaver bow. Oh, that is lovely. Lovely orb weaver bow. That is most likely orb weaver hood as well. And it could be orb weaver armor overall. This is a new armor set then. Oh, that is going to be lovely. So, of course, we did have the spider armor set in the first Grounded. But this, it really does lean into the orb weaver aesthetics. And the orb weaver bow, oh, that looks amazing. And then dual-wielding daggers. Wow, that looks like fun. All right, what have we got? I'm wondering, this almost looks like Scorpion. This looks like it could be Scorpion mouth parts and the Scorpion armor. And maybe, I'm leaning to this being the Scorpion armor set. It would lean into the whole assassin look that they're going for here, I think. So maybe this is the Scorpion armor set. I'm going to, for now, put my money on that. Probably, like, horribly misplaced, but I'm calling it. That's armor. That's Scorpion armor. New Ladybird shield. That is brilliant. A Ladybug armor set as well. That is just brilliant. Not sure. Oh, I wasn't sure what Pete is rocking here, but I am sure now. Look at those antennae. Those are the antennae of that eastern-haired blue, the butterfly, the lycanid butterfly that we had earlier in the reveal trailer. And look at that, the iridescent blue there. You can see some of the orange of the eye spots as well. That is very well done. We're going to have to make leather, I guess, from the wings of the butterfly there and have this, I guess, more of a magical armor set. Maybe this enhances the magical abilities, because I think Pete there is in fact using a staff that throws like snowballs. There's an ice attack staff there. An ice attack staff there, and let's see, yeah, there we go. Throwing a snowball at a cockroach. Can you believe it? That is definitely a cockroach. I do believe it also says on the Grounded 2 Steam page that they are introducing cockroaches, and well, here they are. There appears to be one over there, but this is definitely a cockroach. You can see the 2 tail-like things in the back here. Those are called the Circe. You'll find those in cockroaches. I think you'll find those in termites as well. You also will find them in some other things like earwigs as well. But the cockroaches here, definitely cockroaches. This one definitely is an adult. You can see the wings there. I'm not sure whether I can see wings in the one in the background there. That may be a nymph. And what we can also see as Pete throws that snowball, well, it creates this ice thing over here. So it has got a bit of an area of effect that it also does. Looking back a little bit, you can see that one is definitely a nymph. That one doesn't have the wings yet of the adult. So we're going to have different life stages of some animals. We've got a nymph of the mantis, we've got a nymph of the cockroach, we've got larvae, of course, of some of the other critters. We'll see those larvae in a moment. Of course, the stink bug making its appearance again in the dry grass biome again. We've got the weed stems there, the portulaccas over there as well. I do see they still have the mouth of the stink bug as they had it in the first grounded. Of course, stink bugs like this don't have the mouth like that. Instead, they've got a piercing mouth part that will be located below the head there, going below the body there. But for the fighting and stuff like that, I think they just had the more humanoid mouth with the stink bug there. Yes, right at the end there you can see it opening its mouth there, kind of teeth. Well, stink bugs don't have teeth, but you know, this is a game. Artistic license is perfectly acceptable. And then of course larvae making a return as well, and I still maintain these are the young of the green lacewings. Not sure whether that means we are going to actually see green lacewing adults in the game as well. If they are going to make an appearance, I'm going to put my money on them being active at night or coming out at night, because well, the adults are most active at night, flying around at night, attracted to lights as well. So maybe if they are doing the whole thing of young and adults of a whole bunch of different species, we are going to see adult lacewings as well, and it's going to make the areas around lights a little bit more dangerous, potentially, because some lacewings are predatory and some feed on pollen, some don't feed at all. So we'll see how they play it. And of course, as always, being attacked by the larvae, but it seems as though the ants here can either block the attacks or perhaps do a bit of a stun effect there on the larvae. Guess we'll have to wait and see though. And of course, the ladybirds looking a little bit different. I can see a few different shaped spots on the ladybird over here as well, which is really great to see. It's not just round circles as it was before, instead a little bit more blotchy appearance. I wonder whether each ladybird will have its own little blotchy pattern. I highly doubt it, but you know, they would in real life have some unique, almost unique patterns, slightly different shaped spots on them. And then, of course, again, the scorpion making its appearance and just giving you an idea of the sense of scale there. And then here we've got two spiders fighting. We've got an orb weaver that we are riding, and I do believe that is in fact a wolf spider that we've got over there as well. So this will be very interesting. Going into battle with the orb weavers, most likely be able to use webs in our attacks against whatever we are fighting. I wonder how this is going to play out. This is going to be very, very interesting to see. I'm very glad to see the wolf spiders making an appearance again. Ooh, look there. Look at the mouth and how it opens up when it is getting ready to attack. The mouth parts are opening to the sides. There. Look at that. The mouth parts opening to the side. That is a good indication this is not like a baboon spider or tarantula. This is one of the araneomorphs, one of the typical spiders, because baboon spiders and tarantulas, their jaws do not open up to the sides. But the typical spiders, orb weavers will do that, wolf spiders will have that, their jaws open up to the sides, and they bite down kind of in an inward fashion. They pinch and they bite you and inject venom into you. But yeah, this is definitely a wolf spider. Big eyes in front there, smaller eyes to the side. Oh, I love the wolf spider. And of course, it's grounded too. Oh, yes. And it's coming the 29th of July. So in 6 weeks, we'll be able to explore the backyard. We're going to encounter new creatures, old favorites, and of course, we'll be doing it all together again as well. And I will be playing this probably right from the start. I'll be starting a playthrough of this, and then a little bit later on, when our young one is a little bit older, Nic will be joining us, and we will be doing a playthrough of this in the live streams as well, as we did for the first Grounded. But that will still be a little ways ahead. So of course, for now, if you would like to see more Grounded content, I have a whole playlist right up there of when I played the first Grounded, and then a whole bunch of other videos on the channel as well. So if you want to see some more nature-orientated gaming videos, click the subscribe button up there, and let's look at nature together while playing games. And of course, until next time, everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers!